everyone. We are the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Hinson.
And I'm Dr. Donnelly.
You are listening to our disembodied voices for our webinar series. And today, on February 4th, we are talking about insightful tips for cultural resiliency. So you might be thinking whether or not you're in the right place. If you have accidentally clicked on this Zoom link and this was not the webinar you were meant to register, much like in college when you accidentally showed up to the wrong class because you read a 3 instead of a 2 on your course room, we are here to help you figure out if you're in the right place. So number one, you are here, and you should be, if you want to make sure that you are leading well. You're in the right place if you know that you've got a couple people in your office that are causing a lot of problems and you don't know what to do about them. And you're in the right place if you're worried that these problem children are causing even bigger problems that you are facing along the lines of harassment or bias or interpersonal conflicts.
Good news, we are in the right place too.
Yes, we are meant to be here as well.
We are also meant to be here. Welcome to the webinar, everyone, including ourselves. So I'm Dr. Donnelly. I'm in the picture in the long hair. Dr. Hinson, who you just heard from, has the short hair. We've been friends for a while and have been doctors for shorter than that, but still a little bit of time.
Still doctors.
Still doctors, still friends. Both things still true.
Yes.
So we are experts in organizational analysis. We both researched, specific things. The doctorates hanging on our walls say different things, but what it boils down to is that we are really good at seeing patterns between people and how they work together and don't work together and how to bridge those things. We are uniquely skilled to understand cultures, both in the macro sense, like American culture, the culture of sports fans, and microculture, the culture of your office, the culture of your family, things like that. And when we were nearing the ends of our PhDs, we realized that our skill sets could really, really help organizations, small businesses, and nonprofits. So we largely stepped out of the academic realm and stepped into the marketplace. And this is how we think we can serve you best.
So today we will be serving you, we're going to go over real quick what you're going to learn in today's webinar. So today we will be serving you by making sure that you know about the importance of emotional intelligence. If you've heard this buzzword used around the business world, around your office, around your networking, we're going to explain what it is and why you should have it. We will be speaking directly to some of the serious problems we feel you are facing. And we'll be doing that through sharing our 3 key factors of insightful leadership and talking about some tips to help you find solutions to the office conflicts that might be coming from these particular areas. We will answer any question that you possibly could have about the difficulties and challenges of managing a diverse workforce. And we will be sharing our business and educational experiences along all of these very important issues. So that's what we're going to cover. It's jam-packed. Buckle up.
Yeah, about to say, we're going to solve all the world's problems in 23 minutes.
23 minutes. Set the timer and go.
You are welcome. So the very first thing that we would encourage you to remember is that the baseline, the most important element, if you leave today with anything, is that the foundation of good leadership, the foundation of resilient organizations starts with a leader who knows themselves. You have to know your people in order to lead them well. And in order to know your people, you've got to know yourself. You have to know what matters to you, why it matters, what your potential anger buttons are, what are your shortcomings that you need other people to fill, what are the things you're really, really good at that other people should know about. These are things that need to happen. And this is what we mean by emotional intelligence. We've been talking about IQ for millennia at this point, the brain matter ability to function. And that's a piece of being a good leader and a functional human, but an equal, if not more important piece is emotional intelligence. Things like empathy, understanding that comes from listening skills and also from knowing who you are. And that's the beginning. So you may have come here because personnel is your problem. Like Dr. Hinson said earlier, you've got a problem child in your office. There's maybe a minor, incident of bullying. You've got some gossip, stuff like that. Our guess is that it's not actually your only problem. It's just the one that seems the easiest to fix. But it could very well be a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. If you've got a problem with gossip, for instance, it could be that you've got a real issue with job security and people are concerned about their jobs. And so they're shoring up alliances and things like that, that your office has essentially become an episode of Survivor. And you don't really want that.
No.
So you need to make sure you're getting to the root cause. Part of our company here at Abbey Research, we're part of a network of companies, and several of the other ones are in manufacturing. And in manufacturing, you always talk about root cause analysis. How do you get to the bottom of it? And that's what we want you to do with the people in your office. So if you're struggling with personnel issues, you could also have things like decreased productivity, customer client satisfaction issues. You could have a lot of employees calling out sick more often than normal, things like that. And if the word toxic is being used in your culture for anything other than an early aughts Britney Spears reference, you really need to take stock of what's going on, because that is like the biggest alarm bell that we could encourage you to pay attention to.
That's right. So if for any of those reasons or others that you are experiencing, you have come to this webinar, we've got some handy tips for you for building that cultural resiliency. So what Dr. Donnelly alluded to this when she was mentioning self-awareness and emotional intelligence. So you have to know yourself first and foremost and always, but then you have to focus on knowing your people. And one of our first tips is one of the easiest ways to solve personnel issues in your workplace is to spend some time getting to know your people. So what does that mean? We believe and we break that down into understanding and focusing on 3 key areas about your people. So understanding the generational gaps that might be happening with the varying generations in your workplace, understanding the gender issues, where they might be coming from and what bigger problems they might be causing, and understanding personality traits so that you can know your people and know how to communicate these personality trait differences to them. So we're going to start first by going through some issues that you might be facing with generational gaps. And it's really important to understand that the average US workplace has anywhere from 3 to 4 generations represented at one time. And that's, ballpark anywhere from 45 to 60 years worth of generations, potentially in one workplace. So that can create a lot of different expectations for what it means to be an employee. And that can create some problems. So generations are age cohorts, is the fancy lingo for them, that are usually take place over a 15-year period. So the 4 generations we have in the workplace right now, moving into 5, the silent generation, which is pre-World War II. So they're not really very much in the workplace, but we've got baby boomers, we've got Generation X, we've got millennials, and we've got Generation Z coming into the workforce now with the youngest population. And all of these generations are significant, every generation is, because they experience the world through the changes of the time period they were born into. So social changes, cultural changes, political changes, and perhaps most significantly, currently right now, technological changes. So one of the things we want to highlight when we're providing these tips is that a lot of these changes, so big examples of those would be, any major conflict, so World War II, or technological change like the advent of the internet or the iPhone. These changes can shift society really dramatically and can lead to a gap between these generations in terms of what they experienced and what they then expect from society and the workforce. So this possibly wide gap, certainly between some generations, can lead to a lot of other problems in the office. And that our biggest tip for understanding that about your people is knowing what generations they belong to and understanding the key differences between those expectations.
And it's really easy to assume this. That because people look around the same age or maybe even act around the same age or are the same age, that they experience the same generational thing. But there is nuances that affect that. If they grew, like Dr. Hinson and I have talked about this. So we grew up with parents who are on the early end of boomers rather than the like late end, and that affects how we interact with Generation Z and millennials. So having basic understandings of how these generations see the world can really help, in the same way that people assume that gender is something that is really easy to understand and really straightforward, but asking some clear questions can really help understand things. So gender in the workplace is something that's a huge buzzword right now, and everyone's talking about it, and everyone's talking about harassment. We see some think piece from some group every week about how men are worried to compliment their coworkers now, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of consternation around it. So the best thing that we can do is just state some bare facts. At this point in history, it is true that women are statistically considerably more likely to experience some level of harassment at work, whether that is verbal, physical, emotional, or even financial. There is a much higher percentage of women who definitely experience verbal harassment. There's a lot of kind of gender programmed differences in how people perceive that, all those things. So because those things are true, we would encourage you to have a really, really clear policy. So our first tip for insightful leadership is knowing the generations in your office and how they interact together. Our second tip is knowing the genders in your office and how they interact together. That there is a holistic and really clearly stated reporting procedure for anyone who does not feel safe in your workplace, whether that is verbally unsafe, emotionally, or physically unsafe. They need to be clearly communicated to the entire staff, and they need to be universally enforced. The leaders and managers in your office are responsible for creating a safe work environment. That's true. In manufacturing, it's, highly regulated by OSHA. In a lot of other in office environments, it's regulated by EEOC. But those are legal things. You as a leader should be incredibly invested in the safety of your people, both the emotional and physical safety. So clearly communicated and universally executed plans are essential to that process.
And the third tip we have for building insightfulness within your culture and being an insightful leader and knowing your people is that you need to know and understand the differences with personality traits. So there's lots of different personality traits, but we're going to be focusing today on breaking down the key differences between introverted and extroverted people, because according to recent statistics, anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of US workers are introverts. So that goes for your office as well. And we focus a lot on introversion and extroversion here at Abbey Research because myself, Dr. Hinson, I am a fairly stereotypical introvert, and Dr. Donnelly is a fairly stereotypical extrovert.
Yeah, so we spend be poster children of the movement.
Yes, we could be poster children for both introverts and extroverts. So we spend a lot of time talking about how it impacts our company, and because of that, have done a lot of research and a lot of thinking about how it could be impacting your organization as well. So what does it mean to be introverted? There's a lot of stereotypes out there about introverts in terms of shyness, being withdrawn, not really engaging, not being good at social interaction. Effectively, what it means to be introverted is that you process energy differently. So what that means is any form of interaction with other people drains your energy. So for introverts, they very often work best and most effectively when they're alone, when they can control the stimuli in their office. That's lighting, sound, visual stimulation. And extroverted people gain energy from social interaction. So it's just a different way of processing energy and how you use that when you're dealing with other people. So if you haven't considered this in your office and how it might be impacting your interpersonal relationships, we really consider you looking into that more. One of the trickier parts about managing introverts, and this is another good tip to understand about them, is that they're usually very good at hiding in work environments. And that's because as a society, in America particularly, we tend to value extroverted personality qualities. So people who are outgoing, engaging, enthusiastic, energetic, we value those traits a lot more than we value the traits of an introvert. So a lot of introverts are good at faking it. It can be very difficult to know who the introverts in your office are. So we really advocate for communicating with your staff. So learning about, educating yourself about the differences, and then communicating to your staff that it's okay for them to be their authentic selves in the office. Because if you don't understand what your introverts need in terms of a physical work environment and an emotional work environment, and they don't feel like they can be their authentic selves, that's going to lead to problems, both with that particular staff member and their interactions with other staff members who might not understand why they always need to eat lunch alone. But building that understanding has to happen through knowledge and communication. And those are our tips for helping to head off some of those conflicts before they happen.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know when we work with our in-person clients, this is the thing that comes up in every single office.
Yep.
Some perception about aloofness, or some perception about people being too intense, or this is universal. And it is actually one of the easier things to fix with conversations and some minor education. So this is something we'd encourage you to jump on.
100%.
So what we've learned is that insightful leaders are the first step is developing your own self-awareness. And then we say that after you've really developed your own self-awareness, which again, if that is not something you're super comfortable with and you don't really know where to start, we would love to help you. You can get in touch with us however you're watching this video right now, on our website, on YouTube, in an email. There's ways to contact us all around you, and make sure you get in touch with us around that. Then the three we think most pressing matters in terms of your team and team dynamics are the generational differences, the gender dynamics, and then personality traits, in particular around energy processing and introversion and extroversion, that you really, really need to focus on in order to effectively engage your folks and keep the culture resilient. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for watching the webinar. We hope that it was everything you dreamed and more.
Yes.
And this one was edited, of course, but we would love for you to be able to join us live for the next one, which it will have lots more interactive opportunities, time for you to ask questions, and opportunities to win prizes.
What? So how can you find out about our webinars? That's a great question.
Great question.
If you're watching this replay back on YouTube, there will be a link to sign up for our newsletter in the show notes below. If you are watching this on our website, just scroll down to the bottom of the page, sign up for the newsletter.
You'll see a box that says Research Digest and a little thing. Type your email in there and
away you go.
Away you go. We'll see you for the next one.
Follow us on all of our social media if you want to as well. We post about our upcoming webinars and all sorts of things of interest there as well. So we hope you've enjoyed this replay, and we really look forward to seeing you on our next webinar.
See you later from the Good Doctors.
Bye.